Fuck up on me. How are you? The door knocking technique of, oh my gosh, you surprised me by opening your door. What we're talking about today is technical sales at the incredibly introductory level, where we're going to move gently from theory to theorem. We're going to move ever so nudgingly closer towards practicing versus learning the intellectual's idea behind the concept of technical sales. I'm not going to assume that you're an engineering or STEM grad because that would be a giant assumption. I'm not going to assume that you're a sales virgin because that would also be a assumption. Let's proceed forward at a beginner level where even if you're an expert, let us try to have beginner's mindset. Let's go. Going from 0 to 2 sales of hot dogs. Yes, the meat sandwich that is not necessarily exactly a sandwich, but is bread surrounding meat. Hot dog. Can we sell 2 hot dogs? Because Ben Parr of the $0 to $1 million podcast had a hot dog selling and sales business. When you sell a hot dog, you're not necessarily hard selling anybody, but you're definitely convincing a person that eating a tube of mystery meat is quite the good idea, which is why you're going to go from 0 sales of hot dogs to 2 hot dogs sold. This is the idea behind the tech sales, dare I say, entrepreneurship exercise of trying to sell 2. Because most of the time, you're going to be stuck at 0. So, 0 to 2 hot dog sales could be a Psycho Saturday option for you. Idea to practice number 2 for tech sales is to try to sell me a pen. I'm the easiest person to sell. You can call me on the phone and try to sell me 1 pen. Let's say calling a person is incredibly difficult for you to do, even a person who is pretty much guaranteed to buy a pen from you. Let's say calling me to sell me a pen is too intimidating. Let's now try to sell strangers because me, Larry Chiang, I am your friend, at least an internet friend, or maybe even acquaintance. And if you've watched 1 or 2 or multiple videos, I tend to seem pretty familiar. Let's say you don't want to sell a friend because that's not fair, because selling stuff to friends and relatives is kind of gross. Why don't you sell a web page to a stranger? I'm not talking about an entire website. I'm just talking about 1 or 2 web pages. This is how that exercise might go, so that way we practice tech sales because we get off of 0. We identify a person who has a Instagram post or a Twitter post that was semi-popular, and we take that social media post and we summarize it up onto one landing page. Are we selling this for $100? Don't be a jerk. Sell it for a little bit less money, because all you're doing is email publish posting this web page. So you're just going to sell 2 web pages. And if you want a cheat code for selling 2 web pages, this is how you do it. The restaurant that you like to eat at most, or the restaurant that you DoorDash from the most, you create a web page that is for them to generate new business. And your payment is 19 tacos. But if they sell Chinese food, for 干炒牛河. Do you like how I just bust out to Chinese? Or if it's a Parisian restaurant, steak and frite. Whatever. You're just doing a trade, meaning you're not even selling a website for money. You're selling a website for bread pudding. And that's a trade, and then now you've sold one thing. I'm doing great. I hope you guys are doing great, because the other thing that you can do when you sell a website is this. Do a swap, do a trade, do anything that helps you collect your first semi-dollar resembling thing, which is the website for a restaurant may or may not exist. You load up a menu and you load up a couple of positive reviews onto a website with a phone number, with maybe even a QR code to scan for this is our not so secret DoorDash menu. Because loading up this website for a restaurant, this is actually how DoorDash started, is they loaded up a website for 3 restaurants. Krung Siam, a macaron shop, whose name I'm going to butcher, Le Poisson. I mean, it almost sounds like the pussy. And then the other one is Oren's Hummus Shop. And so you can sell 2 websites, 2 web pages. I know this because I win at entrepreneurship. I don't know. I mean, it's not necessarily common knowledge. That's how they started. Specifically, gonna show off here. Lecture 8, CS 183B. And from other YouTube content from Stanford Engineering and also Y Combinator. For us to replicate a portion of that success would be to sell 2 web pages. Selling a book that you create using ChatGPT, Jim launching. So you're just selling 2 pages of an existing book to, gosh, I'm going to almost say anybody, but you're just trying to get off of 0 things sold. So Jim launching is an idea. The Bitcoin wave, because I drafted out the outline already, that's an idea. So what you're doing is you're selling existing page numbers and then taking those existing pages and putting them onto a web page where you're quoting page 37, 4 Steps to the Epiphany. I read the chapter on customer discovery, and then I went ahead and took a screenshot of a part of page 31. And after I read page 37, page 31, I took this action on it. If you would like to be my study buddy for this is what the website says, that a web page that you would create. If you would like to be my study buddy on this, it's going to cost $50 or $200, whatever dollar amount that you pick. And that's how you're trying to sell 1 page within a book. It's like a magic trick. Ooh. Selling 2 credit repairs. You don't want to take over Duck9. You just want to use the free API. And that API is not common because most people can't even get their own credit report. And so that's where you would use the form P.O. Box 105281 to get 3 credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And then those 3 bureaus would tell you information, and then you march forward with sending out more snail mail to expand on prior reports, so that way you can either confirm or dispute the credit data that's going in. Meanwhile, you're pumping in positive credit data. So you're, in essence, turning around 2 credit reports and you're selling it for, I don't know, 500 bucks, you pick a price greater than 450 bucks, lesser than 2000. Selling to Equinox gym memberships. So, what you're doing is you're selling an existing thing for 700 bucks, where you're not trying to sell 1,000 of these for 700 bucks. You're just trying to sell two. And when you sell two, you'll feel super confident, because what in the world made that Equinox membership worth more than 80 bucks a month? Well, that's when you and I practice the effort of, how do we get somebody to spend $700 on a thing that costs less than 100? What if we became more entrepreneurial in that 700 using LCRRM? So my job at the very foundation of life itself is specifically tech sales. You can call me a turnaround expert. You can call me a guest lecturer at a local college. You can call me a Jedi in business administration. But at the foundational level, I sell things that are somewhat technical. Just like this video is an introduction to technical sales, this is made slightly easier if you already have a STEM degree and also did a stint as a sales intern. But turns out most people don't. Because why in the world would you want to go to college in engineering and then take a job where you're having to face rejection and high EQ work, high emotional quotient work? It's just not it just runs counter to what a person wants to do. Are there financial rewards for doing tech sales? Heck yes. In fact, take the number of people who are good at tech, take the number of people who are good at sales. It's nearly impossible to teach a salesman engineering shit, and it's really, really hard to teach an engineer sales stuff. Therefore, if you want to be better than a salesman rocking an engineering degree, guess what your financial reward is? Ginormously higher than a person who can sell, only yet not be able to learn the technology. This is where we don't get intimidated by selling the important stuff that venture capitalists sell. Venture capitalist, a VC, because VCs tend to intimidate people because they're selling stock that they don't own to companies that may or may not provide revenue. But what a VC is really good at is technical sales. And if you Google back into their background, they almost always have an undergrad engineering degree with sales and business development components. So when we're trying to do tech sales, we are, in essence, taking baby steps to selling some basic things, while school and self-styled studying is done over YouTube for learning AI, for learning ML, machine learning, for learning technical components that all need to be sold. And that's why a website is initially kind of a nice practice item to sell and close on. Selling Equinox gym memberships is hilarious because this is how it would work. You sell an Equinox gym membership for $700. If they broadcast, post on social media that they go twice in a month, you give them $350 back twice. So that way they get their $700 back. The other component to the $700, which is Equinox in Miami or Austin only, is they get to work out with Larry Chiang, yoga instructor. And that, if they had a positive experience or didn't flake on the yoga appointment, then they get $350 back. And this is done for a maximum of 3 months. So afterwards, there's no obligation to keep continuing for $700. But this way, you sell 2 memberships, and yeah, I used to sell cars when I put myself through undergrad. Why? Because I read a book called Mark McCormack, What They Don't Teach at Harvard Business School, and I sold advertising at the Daily Illini. Why? Because Mark McCormack said, if you're in business and you don't do sales and selling, you're very disconnected from how the revenue comes in. And that's why I decided to sell cars at the Daily Illini. And then afterwards, I sold advertising so well that Sullivan Chevrolet in Champaign, Illinois, it's a twin city, Urbana and Champaign. That's why they call it University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, UIUC. UIUC. University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. So Sullivan Chevrolet, right off of I-57, they're like, you're really good at selling advertising to us. Would you like to work for us, making easily 6 figures selling Chevrolet? So I took that job offer, and then I worked at the Pontiac dealership closer to my parents' house, which is 3 hours away up in Naperville. So yeah, I did sell cars for 2 summers, and funnily enough, I met my job offer by selling them a car for Nalco Chemical, because while selling them a car, they're like, man, you're really good at selling. Too bad you don't have an engineering degree, because then you could make a ton of money. I'm like, how much money? They're like, a ton. I'm like, I have to go to engineering school though? They're like, yep, that's required. That's how I got involved in tech sales. Thanks for asking the question, you guys. I hope that this intro to tech sales via the sales and sell to component help you practice selling before you go do tech sales interviews. I'm not joking about the selling 2 hot dogs thing, because if you can just sell 2 hot dogs, you'll have more sales experience than 95 to 100% of people. Definitely 90+% of people if you just sell 2 hot dogs. If you sell a website, and remember, my phone number's everywhere, so you can cold call me to sell me a pen.